Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tal Kadee, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Albany State University. Welcome to the annual State of the University address. We ask that those in the auditorium please silence your mobile devices. Okay. Thank you. So now, faculty, staff, and students, please join me in welcoming to the podium Arthur N. Dunning, President of Albany State University.
Dr. Kadee, thank you very much. And let me welcome all of you to this session, especially those who are watching through live streaming. One of the things I like to do at this time each year is to give you sort of a feeling of our pulse of where things are and what we've been doing and what we expect to do. And we are at a very different place at this point. We have a strong team that's in place, and I don't think I've had a session yet where we've been fully engaged and fully staffed. And I want to highlight some of these folks to you so that you'll have a sense of who we are, where we are, and what we're trying to do. And first, you just met Dr. Tal Kadee. He's the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, and his role is to look at all aspects of the academic enterprise at Albany State University and to make sure we are meeting expectations and indeed exceeding expectations. We have Ms. Cynthia George, who's the Senior Vice President. Actually, I've just promoted Cynthia. She's the Vice President for Institutional Advancement. And I hope she's not in the audience, so she'll expect a pay raise. But her job is to be sort of the boundary monitor around fundraising, marketing, communications for this university, and to give a sense to our external people, persons who support us, who we are and what we do and what our aspirations are and how they can engage us. Sean McGee, who's the Senior Vice President for Administration, he handles the fiscal side of the House. Director of Internal Audit is Catherine Kiki Varakas, formerly Catherine Lassiter. And Catherine helps us know where concerns are in this organization and how to address those concerns. Chief Legal Affairs Officer is Rowena Daniels. Rowena is the person who helps us to make sure that all aspects of our university life we are abiding by laws and policies of the state and indeed the nation. And then Vice President for Organizational Effectiveness and Institutional Research is Dr. Kimberly Holmes. And lastly, Senior Advisor to the President, Cynthia Hoke. I also want to thank a lot of people. We have assistant VPs, associate VPs, deans, directors, department chairs, faculty, staff, and students, and alumni. They represent the best of Albany State University, and indeed they are the foundation of who we are and what we do. And we have community leaders that may not be in place today, but they have been very supportive of this university. And so their help cannot go unnoticed. So it has been my privilege to serve these people, to serve people that I've mentioned, and also to serve this function. We have a lot of dedicated people who support the growth and development of Albany State University. 3 years ago, Karen and I arrived in Albany what we thought might be a year. And the offer came to lead this university beyond 12 months. And it was one of the, I think, best opportunities that we've faced. And it did two things for me and also, I think, for her as well. And that is to create a holistic learning environment that helps students. as many of you heard me say, this is a very complicated nation, economically, socially, and politically, and you need preparation to engage it fully. And that's what university education is all about and should be all about. Since its inception, Albany State has been trying to meet the needs of a changing society from the very time 114 years ago that it was started on our lower campus. It was focusing on basic academic skills and eventually grew to be a state university that has a very strong influence in Southwest Georgia. It indeed now has a global reach, and we are even reaching further into this very diverse society. So ASU has a vibrant history, but we also are fast changing. As many of you know, we've had a lot of change in the last 3 or 4 years, and I'll speak about that later. But also, always like to mention Dr. Joseph Hawley, who, in order to do what he did, had to be a true visionary to create this institution in Southwest Georgia and a part of the United States of America where there was an awful lot of difficulty for that period of time. So he came here at a time when things were very different than they are today. Let me talk about the biggest change that has happened, this consolidation. Albany State University entered a new era on December the 9th, when the board voted, it was a unanimous vote, to approve the consolidation of Albany State University and Darden State College, and made it effective this January 1st. Since its founding in 1963, Darden State College has built a strong reputation with a mission of providing access to higher education for students in this region. They offer a variety of academic programs. So the first 50 years of its existence, Darden supported the needs of this community in a very dynamic way. The demographics at Darden now is about 50% minority, and that has been a change since 1963, when the first class, which enrolled actually in 1966. So it has several thousand students. So we now have the new Albany State University, an institution that has 2 campuses, this campus and one on the west side of town. And both are committed to providing academic excellence and vitality in Southwest Georgia. We now are bigger and better as an institution. ASU will respect and build on its historical past. We will also ensure that Darden, with its mission of access, of offering associate degrees, we now have the potential to offer bachelor's and graduate degrees for those who wish to move beyond the associate level. Many of you were involved in the process of this consolidation. We had about 800 strategic decisions that we needed to make. And we're now in phase 2 of those 800 decisions, which means we're at the implementation and execution stage. These recommendations were approved by a Consolidation Implementation Committee that allows us to move forward. So much of what will be done in the next 6 months is to implement those recommendations. So we will be looking at logistics of how we move students around to the 2 campuses. We'll be looking at degree programs and how to integrate those programs. We'll also be looking at adding new programs and looking at ways how we can better serve Southwest Georgia. So I want to extend my congratulations and sincere thank you to those who helped us get to this point. As a reminder, we started this process in November 2015. The regions voted, again, a unanimous vote to consolidate the 2 campuses. And the consolidation process was then put in place. Subsequent to that decision, we were required to get to the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools by September the 15th, 2016, a consolidation prospectus We got that done by September the 12th. And then Southern Association met in Atlanta December 3rd through the 6th to review our perspectives along with numbers from around the Southeast United States and other change of status programs for public higher education and private higher education. So on December the 6th, SACS approved our consolidation. And then on December the 9th, the board voted in a unanimous way to consolidate us January 1st. So that's the process. I look at this university from top to bottom and I think about it daily. And so I think we're filled with a lot of opportunity. This has been a lot of change for us, but I think the future is promising and the opportunities are just endless. Many of you heard me say that this consolidation process was started a few years ago. Prior to being consolidated in Albany, Georgia, there were 6 other consolidations. We were number 7. We now have 2 that will be coming behind us, ABAC in Bainbridge and Armstrong and Georgia Southern. So the process continues. But here, we're at the execution stage for those implementation concerns that we have and the recommendations that we must meet. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I consider signature programs and accomplishments and achievements. A few years ago, the university had the opportunity to establish the Flint River Water Policy and Planning Center at Albany State University. Water is a significant issue, not only in this region, but around the world. And this program provides a framework for academic expertise to be disseminated to this community to help on policy issues and indeed around the region. That is a significant achievement. And in 2016, they received close to $500,000 to do their work from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And that makes a great deal of difference for people in this region of the country. One of the things I would like to mention that as I think about some of the progress we've made, I'm always looking at our faculty members and students who are engaged at the national level. And so we're delighted to share some of the successes. At the formerly Darden State College, first I want to mention the combined economic impact of the 2 campuses, which is about $285 million. And that's significant. We are an industry, even though we are not often thought of as that way. But our economic impact is about $285 million. Recently, on the athletic field, the Darden State College Cavalier baseball team won the East Central District Tournament, and that took them to the World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado. I was indeed excited about that because we have some strong baseball players in this region. Representing Darden State, Austin Duncan was recognized as a 2016 Academic Recognition Student by the University System of Georgia. We're excited about that. Darden State and Albany State collaborated with the Albany Chamber of Commerce to conduct a retail study that was used to identify the number of shoppers who shop in Albany but live outside of the area. We also supported the SPLOST initiative in October 2016, which is Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax with Information. There are too many examples to mention, but I wanted to mention those because it gives you sort of a diverse look at who we are and what we've been doing and how we are supporting this community. We're also doing work nationally and internationally. So as I look forward to the future, I want to do 2 or 3 things. One, we have to grow our enrollment. There's a deep sense of urgency about that. And I'd ask each of you who will touch our students, it is not just about recruitment and enrollment, it's what we do when we get the students here. Please re-examine what you consider and what you define as customer service. I'm not sure we're always meeting the external definition of that. And so that means you have a hand in retaining our students by how we treat them, how we engage them, what the rigor is about what we expect out of them. So please examine what you consider your definition of first-class public service and first-class customer service. One other thing I'd like to mention is our global reach and economic development. I want us to focus on providing technical assistance in our region of the state and support economic development. We have a 26-county area that has a number of difficulties, whether it comes to education, health care, or schooling. And I need for us as a new university to be engaged in solving some of those problems and to take our work and knowledge to the public policy arena and to help make a difference in what good solutions look like. I always have, as I mentioned earlier, a chief concern with enrollment, retention, and graduation. Dr. Truss, who's our new enrollment management leader, has been energized the office and moving around the state, meeting with a lot of people. We have capacity here on campus. We have some world-class faculty members, and we have outstanding academic program. So I want us to tap into new markets for us as an institution, and new markets that should be served by us. So I'm encouraging each of you to tell the ASU story, the narrative about this consolidation, about the range of offerings that are out there. And good organizations always have people who tell a good narrative about the organization. So if you're in a position to speak to community groups, to speak to family members, and to speak to anybody across this state, I'd encourage you to tell a narrative that's positive. If you're not telling it, someone else will fill in the blanks, and it's generally not what you want or what we want. So don't underestimate your voice in this community. One of the things that intrigues me, those voices that are out there that are not telling a good narrative, it always seems to ricochet back to this campus. So I need for you to think about that, because we are now in a new era of trying to raise our level of support to this region of the state, and indeed the state at large. Let me mention a couple of people. As I mentioned, the world-class sort of faculty leadership as well as administrative leadership. Dr. Sarah Cuck was selected as a recipient for the 2016 Regents Teaching Excellence Award for the University System of Georgia. I was extremely excited about that. Dr. Cortelia Walker is the president of the American Association of Rehabilitation Counseling. Dr. Rhonda Porter is a board member for the American Association of Colleges of Teacher Education. These are visible leadership roles that suggest to people of this state and indeed this nation, we have some outstanding scholars on this campus and people who do things and they do them well. So the growth can persist and develop when we talk about these challenges and these exciting faces that we have. So where are we going in 2017? Student success will be the university's chief priority, student success. I want us to create a holistic learning environment that empowers our students to make great decisions about their academic work and life in general. Every facet of their life, I want us to examine it and make sure we're helping them learn to be good decision makers. I want them to have in front of them the latest technologies, academic expertise needed to succeed in their chosen field. They also must be involved in world-class experiences outside of the United States of America. I met with a group just a few days ago from Southeast China. I have made a number of trips to Southeast China in a province called the Jiangsu province, and they were from the western part of that country. What struck me about that meeting is how diverse we are as a world, and also how sad it would be if we did not expose our students while they're here to other parts of the world. It's going to be the world they'll live in. It's going to be the world that they'll need to know about. So I really want study abroad experiences and people coming to this campus to expose our students who reside in Southwest Georgia that the world outside of Southwest Georgia is not just north of Macon, Georgia, that is indeed around the world. So we have many students who are already embracing these opportunities. We had 30 students to study abroad. They went to places like Belize, China, England, Ireland, France, Dominican Republic, Japan, Trinidad and Tobago, and a couple other places. So since 2010, we've had more than 130 students to study in these various countries. When they study, they learn language, they learn culture, and they get exposed. So I'm excited that we are in a position to do that. Some of you have noticed the building that's just to the outside of this building on the east side. We were trying to get this building for over 12 years, and it's a new fine arts center. If I had to think about one of the things I'm most proud of since I've arrived, is saying to policymakers in Atlanta and in the General Assembly that those $19 million should be allocated to the students at Albany State University for a new fine arts facility. This is one achievement I'll never forget because it was on the agenda for so long and so difficult to get. What I'm hoping that this will do is to replace Holly Hall and to give a new place for students to show their talent, creativity, and innovation and serve this community. I want this community to see this facility as their facility as well. The other piece that I am deeply concerned about, we're going to have to do more with less. This is an era of efficiency and effectiveness around dollars. So our facilities management program under the leadership of Lee Howell, we have on this campus had a 16% cost reduction of about $330,000 in the consumption of electricity. That's a lot of money, and we're indebted to Lee for that. Also, our natural gas consumption for this campus, the East Campus, has been about $110,000. That's a 30% reduction. And that's money that we're not having to come up with. And so we all owe Lee a debt of gratitude for his work. The women's cross-country team, they won the SIAC championship. And this fall we'll be adding women's soccer. So we look forward to having this new sport and the excitement that it'll bring to this campus. One program that's dear to my heart, because Karen has been involved in this for a long time, that's working with foster youth. And I'm hoping that we can do something that like what I saw at the university in Western Carolina University in Cullowhee, where there's space for foster students to just really hang out when they need to wash clothes, to do work, and to study. But that program is fostering through college. I'm surprised at times how many young people in our state grew up in foster care, they're homeless, and with no place to go many times when they age out of foster care. We should be a significant place for that. And I'd encourage all of you who do not understand this issue and do not understand this challenge, get to learn about it, because it's affecting a lot of young people in the state of Georgia. Let me mention a grant that we got for $5.5 million for the College of Education. And I went to New York to support Dr. Thompson and his faculty members because the amount of money was so large, and it came from the Wallace Foundation. And I spent 2 days with them in New York. What I generally added was my presence, not my knowledge about the work. and that resonated with the people there. But I want our faculty members to know that I celebrate when we do well and celebrate when people are working hard. And those 2 days in New York really solidified my faith in what they're doing. And part of what they're trying to do is to educate principals in high school, middle school, and elementary schools in a very different way. Schools have always been sort of the place that all society's successes and problems show up in the classroom. And what this grant is trying to do is to help us revisit how we prepare people to provide leadership in schools. So I applaud Dr. Thompson and the faculty members in the College of Education for this. Also, in the College of Sciences and Technology, we've gotten a grant of over $600,000 for a 3-year period of time from the National Institute of Justice for Forensic Science. And that is one of our strongest programs on campus and is bringing us a lot of visibility. The ASU Foundation will engage in a feasibility study. I'm hoping that it'll be up to around $30 million to determine whether or not we can raise that kind of money to support our students, to support faculty members in endowed chairs, and to support scholarships for students who need funds, athletics, faculty development, especially faculty development. We are not going to be able to do what we need to do just from state support. Many of you heard me say we have moved from state support to state assisted all across this nation. And that's because there's so many competing demands for funds from the state now. And universities are required and indeed asked to be more creative and innovative in reaching out to their communities with those who can support us. So I'd ask you, if you are on the faculty, you're a staff member or an administrator, I have never asked anybody to give a certain amount, but I've always asked people to give. I would find it difficult to believe anybody could resolve the fact that they work at an institution but they choose not to support it. And I don't talk about that very much, but I'd ask you to consider, as we start this feasibility study, is think about how you can invest in our students to make sure they are successful. That's what this is really all about. One of the issues that I want to, as we look at economic growth and stability for this region, there's really not a way that higher education won't be involved in the picture. As I mentioned, we have 26 counties. It's going to be very difficult for us to make the sort of progress that we need to make without learning beyond high school. Anthony Park at Albany Tech and I stay in conversations about transfer programs, MOU relationships, and now since we have the associate degree at our West Campus, we have all the elements to help this region grow economically and civically and become stronger. It's now time for us to look at ways that we deliver these services in the most innovative and creative ways. I'm expecting us to be engaged with businesses and supporting communities all throughout Southwest Georgia. We will be asking people, how are we doing and what can we do better? There won't be anybody that we won't ask some very basic questions, and that is to interface with our communities and our public and give special attention to those areas of technical assistance for businesses and communities, creating a quality workforce, transferring some of the knowledge we have, and to advance innovation and creativity. But undergirding all of that is the need for students. If you're in this audience and you have a connection to Albany State, I need for you to know that the single most important issue facing us right now is student enrollment. And that's because some of the growth in this state, much of it is occurring north of Macon. We will have to find creative and innovative ways to make sure the rich environment we have in Southwest Georgia, that we help all Georgians benefit from that. So I need for you to know my #1 priority, and it should be yours as well, is increase this enrollment and also improve retention. It's one thing to get them in, but it's another thing to keep them. And when you keep students, you're doing a number of things: customer service, respect, civility, high expectations in the classroom. Don't mislead anyone, and don't mislead yourself if you think that we can have good retention by not paying attention to the smaller things and the business transactions we have with each other on a daily basis. So I want you to focus on those areas that help retention and also develop resources to support the retention. We have a long road ahead of us, but the potential for student success makes it all worthwhile. The potential for ASU to advance on the national and international level has never been greater, and I want you to think about it in that way. I look at these students when I walk from this building down to the Student Center, and sometimes I'll stop and visit with students. And just to hear what they're talking about, what they're thinking about, and almost to a person, I think they're intelligent, they're capable, and they can be innovative leaders. Like all of us, we need continuous development, and I need your help in doing that. Many of you have also heard me say this, but I was thinking this morning, the first person in my family within 15 years from now will have started college 100 years ago, in 1930. So what I want you to know, that as we get students out of this university and into the workforce, they're not just changing the economy, they're changing lives for their family members. They're changing lives not for immediate family members, but extended family members as well. So our business is a serious endeavor. And I think the time is now, with this consolidation, the changes we've had, is to bring everything that you can that's celebratory, that's visionary, that's collaborative and cooperative, and not a gradual transition to that, but abrupt transition. I do recognize I'm talking about cultures and human change, and those are very hard to do. We honestly don't have a lot of time to have patience with that. So I want you to think about that. I encourage you to help your colleagues. I encourage you to work hard as you can and to make this happen. Thank you for being here, and I very much appreciate what you do on behalf of Albany State. Thank you.
That concludes our program. Thank you so much.